Thank you, Steve, for that introduction.
The big issue that will affect the members attending this legislative conference each year is the impact of the state budget. We have a state budget that equals about $168 billion, and in that $168 billion are local impacts. County governments administer, fund, and are responsible for all federal health and human service programs. So at this conference, we'll hear from state officials, we'll hear from the state budget director about how these funding streams will affect their localities.
The governor has a challenge this year, a large deficit, $4.5 billion, and he's going to need to close that through a combination of revenues, spending reductions, and more efficiencies in government. And a lot of that can trickle down to the county level. So we're keeping an eye on the budget proposal as it works its way through the legislative process.
What are the issues that county government faces when it comes to dealing with this state budget or any state budget?
Yeah, I think the biggest issue is unfunded mandates from the county perspective. We're required to do a lot of services for the state on behalf of the state using local resources, but we don't have a lot of control over the program parameters. So that is a big issue for us, and it really is what drives property taxes at the local level.
How does the property tax cap fit into this equation?
Well, it complicates it. It makes it much more difficult to provide discretionary services and also to maintain the state services we're required to do. It's very difficult.
What is the financial pinch that county government is facing when it comes to the state budget?
Well, it's balancing the priorities that you're required to provide under the mandated programs and offering the services in the community that the residents want with limited resources. And we're also dealing with federal impacts that filter through the state budget down to county level.
We were talking about a big budget gap this year, and who's going to close that? And more than likely, we're expecting that the counties are going to have an increased amount of pressure on our own budgets this year to get the state's budget stabilized.
What kind of an impact does that have on county government's ability to deliver services to local residents?
Well, 70% of my dollars in Putnam County goes straight up to New York State, Albany, for the services that we are also mandated to actually run and operate. So it's going to have an incredible impact on us. You know, just timing alone, if they're looking at a mid-year change in responsibilities for some of the financial responsibilities, then my budget has to be delivered by October. We start our budget May, June. So we've got to know way ahead of time what we're facing for the 2019 budget.